Hey guys, welcome to Tia's Craft Studio. Let's make some cards. This channel works on handmade cards and gifts. I hope that you like, comment, and subscribe. You can also visit me at tiamakescrafts.com. I can't remember where I saw it first, but Spellbinders has this beautiful card kit called Santa Lane. And when I received it in the mail, I was very anxious. I opened it, went through it, and organized it in a way that I like to craft. So some of the items won't come exactly as packaged here, but we will still go through most of the items so that you can see how full this card kit really is. I want to say it was $75 plus shipping. That may have been a special, but definitely check out their website. I know a lot of these holiday themed card kits sell out. So we have a pad of 6x6 paper, tons of stickers, ephemera, some small, some large, some also with foiling. There are those foam squares, this Santa die that's pulling the sleighs, really cute. I do like how the dies are divided so that all of the white items you would cut with the same die, all of the red items you would cut with the same die. They include double-sided tape, sequins. These stickers are dimensional, these jewels, self-adhesive, more ephemera, more words. I separated these out in a way that I would use them. I think I'm about to grab out the ones we're going to use for this video, but large enough sentiments to use on the front of the card. This foil cardstock is like a sheet of metal. It is really high quality, and they give you so much paper. Almost any imaginable color you can think for Christmas is going to be in this kit. And if you do die cutting, there's plenty of colors to use for the Santa die that I showed you at the beginning. Next is the stamp set that comes with the kit. I was really excited about using these. The fonts match the sentiments and the stickers that come in the kit. I ended up using one of these stamps as the greeting on the inside of the card. The stamps are standard quality. They also include so many stickers. I do not think that I use any of these stickers for this video, but there again are so many supplies that come with this kit that I could make another video with another 16 or 20 cards. They include card bases and envelopes for A7 and A2 size cards, which I do make both of. So you are going to get to see my general card making process. Here I like to spread out my ephemera. I say the best card making process is everything is everywhere, because I have to see all of my supplies so that when I'm choosing paper that I kind of have an eye on the direction I'm going and knowing the typical layouts that I create, what papers will work good. So I try to choose a few, we'll say a few darker tones, a few lighter tones. Definitely, since this is a Christmas pad, there's going to be green, there's going to be red. Anything that has foil really catches my eye. I really enjoy the cardstock that already includes foiling. That would be a whole nother video to talk about my thoughts on foiling and having a foiling machine. I just think that if it can be included on the paper, that's one less step and it's going to really pop on the card. So I also typically work with 12 by 12 paper. I do have a few 6 by 6 pads, but regardless to what size paper you start with, when you get it down to 6 by 6, this is my general process. So I'm getting ready to draw it out, and I did separate the papers by which ones I would like cut in the particular manner I'm about to show. So we'll start with a 6 by 6 piece of paper, and of course if you start with a 12 by 12 you'll have more pieces, right? So the first line is at 4 inches, and the second line or cut is at 4 inches again. So I'll end up with a piece that's 2 by 6, 4 by 2, and 4 by 4. The second stack I'm going to primarily use for my A2 size cards. So again, cutting off the 4 with the first cut, and then the second cut just cuts off 3/4 of an inch so that I have a card panel for an A2 card 4 by 5 1/4, and that 2 by 4 section, and then a scrap that I typically use on the inside of the card. So with the magic of filmmaking, we have the paper already cut. I figured I could spare you guys that part. So now I just go through my papers, match them up, and play around with the ephemera. See what looks good, feels good. This card kit has so many options that, of course, 2 people, 4 people, 10 people can all sit down with the same materials and come up with something different. So I really enjoy that with card kits, that all of the pieces make it so easy to coordinate and really make it your own. The way that I cut the paper as well, you'll see me take pieces from each stack, and the cuts really complement each other, and I feel that if you have similar layouts repeated, it makes the card set, if you're giving it as a set, feel more cohesive. So you can have different fonts or different stickers, or like some of them were tags, some of them were small, some of them were large, but they all feel cohesive because the patterns or layouts repeat themselves. So this one, I think I love it so much. I'm going to end up doing the same thing twice with this paper. None of the things I just tried felt as good as that one right there, Merry and Bright. But this is me laying out the pieces that are remaining and matching them up and seeing which sentiment goes the best on the front. And I will embellish these with some more of the ephemera, but it's really just getting the basic layout down. And of course, all of this is just stacked together paper. It's not set in stone yet. So even some that I'm making decisions on now, I may change later. Okay, you remember I mentioned that I separated out the ephemera. So I'm now taking the ones that are pretty substantial and can really help pull the card together, and adding them with the sentiment. So it felt like this card had a lot of empty space. So I put 2, maybe 3 in the end, pieces of ephemera on the top. I, in the end, will also add jewels, I'll add sparkles, I'll add a full card panel behind it, because I will say that they felt like they were missing something with all that white space in the background as the card base is showing. But I just take the pieces and play around until they seem like it would be a nice warm and, I guess, cozy feel on the front of the card. This I really enjoy in the process because I'm putting together a bunch of ideas and I'm sorting through the pieces and really just getting to know my materials and I feel like this is where the love in the card making comes, because I could make so many choices, but each one is handcrafted. Each one is, curated, pulled together. Here's some paper from my stash that I ended up using. Some polka dots, some muted greens, some reds. And let's be frank, we all have paper in our stash that we could use. So let's just use it. I can't even say what kits or paper pads that these prints came from, but I'm sure if you go through some of your printed paper, you have something with a polka dot. I had some solid red paper. The green has a little arrow on it. I didn't really care about that, but the color was perfect to go with the kit. So just, again, one of those handmade touches to the card that just brings it more warmth. So you guys saw the layout before. Here it is with this polka dot in the background, and it really looks cute. You would think the 3 patterns would make the card too busy, but it just really fills it in. I feel like it makes it so that you don't have to add as much embellishment. So let me talk about how I've cut the paper, because this paper I am starting off with 12 by 12. So I'm getting ready to pull out another sheet. This one is already at 12 by 12. Sometimes there's that little hole at the top and you have to cut it so the hole is off and you start exactly with 12 by 12. But my first cut is at 5 and second cut is at 5, so that I have this piece that's 5 by 7 and that piece that's 5 by 5. Then this is 12 by 7. I cut out at 5 and at 5 again. And now I'll have that 2-inch piece that I can use on a card or use to back some of the ephemera pieces that I end up framing, or I guess it's called matting. So here I'm just deciding which orientation I want for that arrow. And then I cut at 5, cut at 5 again. If you can imagine, that's kind of my pattern. I don't want to confuse it with too many measurements because I do mostly batch make cards. So I want something that is easy to repeat and I don't have to remember the Da Vinci Code and how I cut my papers. So beautiful card panel. That muted green goes really good with that plaid. And Merry and Bright. Beautiful. Just warms up the card with filling some of that white space. Also, when the paper has white in it, I like to put a colored or solid paper behind it to really make the white pop. So here I'm making a card base or a card panel for the A2 size card. So if I remember correctly, I think I start off with a 5-inch cut. So I take my 12 by 12 paper and cut off the 5, and then I cut 4 1/4, 4 1/4 until I have that little kind of scrap left. I won't be able to cut another one, but I can again use that scrap to back some of the ephemera or a tag or something on a different card. So I just play around with these until I find the colors that I like. I try to keep my scraps in piles based on color, so that if I come across a card that needs a little something, it's right there, easy to grab, and I'm not cutting a bunch of brand new sheets when I already have a scrap that may work. Also, I use my scraps to add layers behind a card. Sometimes I don't want to use a piece of phone tape. Sometimes it just works better to have everything level, and that's all the dimension that it needs, is to just be flat. So I use some of those scraps behind pieces as well. I'm not sure if I ended up cutting that part out of the video or not, but here are a few more of the layouts that I ended up doing, and I think I'm just going to add a red back to really draw home the Christmassy feel for that one. Otherwise, it was kind of dark. even there, I feel like it could use some presents or something. So here is my second cutting machine, and I really use this one for those precise cuts. As you see, I don't really cut my layers. I guess it's called matting layers. I don't cut my matting layers before I cut the card. I will rather glue it and then trim it specifically. So that just is really based on your preference. And you can see how I use that metallic piece. I put my two pieces together, and then I use a washi tape with red glitter washi tape to seal the seam. And it just is such a cute little pop of color on this card. I don't think that this was the plan for this card to start with, but again, I opened a different ephemera pack and I found some really cute skates, and then I wanted to use those, and then I was like, oh, it talks about love, let's put these hearts. And the card really came together way differently from the original plan, but that's again part of the love that goes into the process of a handmade card. They're all a little bit different. Here I'm adding some dimension tape to that sentiment. And a little bit dimension here as well. And it just really is so cute. Oh, I made a boops. I wanted to put a piece of foam and I hadn't put it. Okay. I don't feel like people often show that part where they've, stamped their branding on the back of the card, but I will do that to the card bases as I create the cards, just because I feel the fold on the card is so easily compromised with opening and closing the card too much. So I way rather stamp it while the front is flat, rather than putting my whole card together and then needing to open it so that I have a flat surface to stamp on the back. So something to be mindful of if you guys stamp something on the back that says handmade by or any branding. I've also considered using stickers. I just haven't found a cost-effective way to do so yet. You probably saw me put that washi tape on the seam, and honestly, I don't do that on every card. I feel that the seam is not exactly a flaw. I don't mind it. I don't mind that it shows, but the level of embellishment that I put on a holiday or a Christmas card is really above and beyond. I feel like a lot of people don't send cards throughout the year. Hopefully we can change that. But at the very least, if you're going to receive one handmade card this year, let us pull out all the stops. We'll add all the glitter, all the shiny, all of the dimension, which is what I'm adding at this point. I will say, and I'm sure I'll mention this in another video, but there's 2 levels of foam tape that I do like to use, and I've really been liking this thin foam tape recently. It doesn't add as much weight to the card when you go to mail it as well. Okay, that one's done. Now here are the scraps that I have left, and there's a few stragglers. This is how I store my kit, so I just put it in this thing. I got it on Amazon. Package everything all together, and I put that page so that I know what the contents are in the back. And you see some of the designs are not how I originally planned them when we were at the beginning of the video. I saw more supplies, I don't know, I just got inspired. And here's the sentiment on the inside of the card. I will say I cut this piece of paper, stamp it, and then tape it on the inside because I don't want to mess up the inside of my card with a messed up stamp and then need to restamp it, or we all know how much of a hassle that part is. So I make sure that it's stamped beautifully before I put it on the inside of the card. Plus that cardstock, the extra weight to the card really makes it a high quality card. Now I'm taking some of those scraps that were left over and just putting them at the bottom of the card. It's just one more thing that gives it that handmade personal touch. And if the piece is too short, then it's just too short. But if the piece is too long, you will see me trim them. I really enjoyed these cards. I really enjoy this kit. I really cannot wait to get into it and make cards with the die sets, with some of those stickers, and kind of mixing in some pieces that I already have in my stash. I always think that's fun. But Spellbinders really did a great job with pulling this card kit together. I'm really interested in seeing more of their card kits in the future. I have a press that presses my logo into the envelopes, and I think that is just a beautiful step. I've also purchased these acrylic boxes because, as I mentioned, I sell my cards at craft fairs, and it makes it much easier to sell cards if you sell them in a if they're beautifully packaged and they get the same style of card multiple times, and therefore the kit is cohesive, because they can give the kit as a gift, or they can use the cards and, you know, just enjoy the process of mailing cards again. So I put it in there. I've stamped my logo and what's on the inside of the card, added it to the back and positioned it just right. The only thing is, I think I made 7 of these cards and it's not written anywhere on the outside of the packaging, but we can fix that. And here are the A7 size cards that I made. They're slightly different once I add the embellishment. And the final touch on these, some of them just need to be trimmed down so that there's no white from the backing of the card showing from the front. But let's take a look at some of these really beautiful cards. I mixed in my A7 and my A2 size cards so you can see some of the final decisions. But this was such a fun card kit. Spellbinders, they really did a great job. I am definitely going to buy more of their card kits. It really was a blast, and the value, the supplies that came with the kit, you can't buy them individually. So it was just a really great value. This was so much fun. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can also follow me on Instagram. That's where I'm most active, Tia Makes Crafts, or visit my website, tiamakescrafts.com. Thanks guys. Bye.